Shabbat Shalom. So, many years ago, I swear this is a true story. A friend of mine was a rabbi in a very small town that you would be surprised that this town could support one congregation, one synagogue. And in fact, it had two. Okay, and the reason that it had two is that 50 years before this story took place, so like this point, probably 90 years ago, and maybe now they only have one, but there was a fight between these two guys. There were two very wealthy guys in the town who controlled like almost the whole town, and the congregation split in two. Okay, and 50 years later, these two guys still hated each other, right? And they were both on the board of the Federation, and the two rabbis were also ex officio on the board of the Federation, and there was a Federation board meeting, and the rabbi of the other shul made a suggestion, okay? And so the rich guy who sort of controlled my friend's shul banged on the table and he pointed at the other guy and he said, "Do you know what that guy did to me 50 years ago? And now you think I should support a suggestion from his rabbi?" Right? And that was apparently like totally normal for the way that community operated, right? So, in the Parsha, actually the section that I read this morning from Numbers chapter 10, verses 1 and 2, the Lord spoke to Moses saying, "Make 2 trumpets of silver, make them of hammered work. They shall serve you to summon the congregation, Adah, and cause the camps, Machanot, to journey." Okay, so there's 2 words in that verse, Adah and Machaneh. Okay, and the word Adah, actually, even if you think you never heard of it, you have. Because if you know a congregation called Adith or Adat or Addis, that's the construct form of that word Adah, right? Like Adat Shalom, right? And if you ever went to a camp, right? So Machane Ramah, right? So there's the Adah and the Machane. Right, and what's the difference between an Adah, a congregation, and a Machaneh, a camp? Okay, well, the late Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik, who was the great philosopher of contemporary modern Orthodoxy, wrote that a Machaneh, a camp, bands together for protection against an external threat. Whereas an Adah, a congregation, forms together in pursuit of shared ideals. Okay, and elsewhere, Rabbi Soloveitchik spoke about 2 different covenants that the Jewish people lived under: the Brit Goral, the covenant of faith, and the Brit Yehud, the covenant of destiny, right? And what he meant by that is that no Jew can escape the Brit Goral, right? I mean, Esther thought that maybe by hiding in the palace and not disclosing her identity, she might be saved, right? And we all know Jews, I mean, some of whom actually convert to another religion, others who simply, for all intents and purposes, stop being Jews? You think the Proud Boys hate them less because they don't observe Judaism, right? You think the Nazis wouldn't have come after them because they don't observe Judaism? No. Okay, so that's the Brit Gorah, right? But the only people who are part of the Brit Yehud, the covenant of destiny, people like us, right? People who come to shul, who observe at least some mitzvot, who think about Jewish concerns and ideas, and are part of the Jewish community, not just the Machaneh, right, but the Eidah. Okay, and unfortunately, excuse me for a minute, much of Jewish life is still on the model of the Machaneh, right? We band together against threats, assimilation, anti-Semitism, intermarriage, the Arabs, the Muslims, right? Whatever, right? All of these threats are real, right? But they don't attract people to our vision, right? My friend Richard Joel, who was the international director of Hillel, and then left Hillel to become the president of Yeshiva University. And I heard him in a speech say, "Come survive with us," right? Not much of a slogan, right? And in that same speech, he said, "No one wants to give money to buy new deck chairs for the Titanic," right? And, you know, when you talk, I mean, I have a rule. I mean, I used to say when I get something in the mail, you don't get too many charitable solicitations in the mail, right? They come by email, right? And if I get a charitable solicitation that talks about anti-Semitism, or basically, as I would put it, Schrei's Gewalt, delete, right? That to me is not my basis for supporting Jewish life, right? Don't tell me what's bad, or tell me what's good. In fact, say, you know, these are all the things that we do, and we don't have any money. Imagine what we could do if we had money, right? To me, that has at least a chance of being inspirational. Okay, so last week, Rabbi Raphael and I attended the American Jewish Committee's Global Forum. Okay, and one of the things that the American Jewish Committee does every year is they have a survey of American Jewish opinion. Okay, and it is considered to be a good survey, right? The people who do it know what they're doing. Their methodology is tried and true. And these are some of the key findings that came out of that survey of American Jewish opinion. 85%, and this was the actual questioning was in like March and April, okay? 85% of American Jews believe it is important for the US to support Israel in the aftermath of October 7th, right? 85% of American Jews think it's important for the US to support Israel. 87% of American Jews think that since October 7th, anti-Semitism has increased in the United States. 57% of American Jews feel more connected to Israel or more connected to their Jewish identity, or both, since October 7th. Okay? more than 1 in 10 American Jews have ended a friendship or a relationship because the person expressed anti-Semitic views. 9 in 10 American Jews believe anti-Semitism is a problem in the United States. Okay, and here is one of the more, what I found to be the most interesting findings. 49% of American Jews feel safe attending synagogue or a JCC, right? 27% feel unsafe. Okay, so then the rest are unsure, right? But so almost half of us still feel it's safe to come to shul, for which we can thank Bob Gold, right? Huh? Yeah, no, I mean, it's actually true. I mean, you have not been on the receiving end of one of his emails, right? No. Okay. But, and they usually come at 5 in the morning and they're guaranteed, right? 72% of American Jews think that being Jewish is important to them. Okay, and this is very, very high. I mean, in our parents' generation, it was much, much lower, okay? Because there's a sociological phenomenon called Hanson's Law. I don't think it's related to your husband, but it says that the third generation seeks to reclaim what the second generation seeks to jettison. Okay, so if you look at it, right, so when I look at my dad, okay, I mean, my dad was the son of Eastern European immigrants, right? And he grew up in a Yiddish-speaking Orthodox home in the holy city of Brooklyn, right? He knew that he was a Jew, right? His identity quest, how to become an American, right? And part of that identity quest, because he told me this, right? The first time a piece of non-kosher meat ever entered his mouth was when he was in the army, right? Because where do you go to learn how to be American, right? The army, right? Whereas for me, like I grew up, right? I mean, I only lived 8 years, right, in the holy city of Brooklyn. And then we moved to New Jersey, right, to a town that was like 90% Irish, Italian, and Polish, right? But I knew I was an American, right? I was very comfortable being an American. My quest was to figure out how to be a Jew, right? And so our generation, for the most part, right, we actually value our Jewishness more than our parents. Okay, now some of you, I know your parents, and your parents are maybe not part of that figure, right? Which is perhaps why you're here today, right? But for most of us who are, you know, the third generation in America, actually, we value our Jewishness more than our parents did, right? Now, and also, another figure, less than 10% have considered leaving the United States because of anti-Semitism. All right, that to me sounds like a reasonable figure, actually. Okay, now, you know, as I said before, right, one of the external threats that the Jewish community, certainly the conservative Jewish community, used to try and struggle against was intermarriage, right? And frankly, that's no longer the case. It's really no longer the case. I mean, conservative synagogues and the conservative movement have a different attitude today. And honestly, for those of you who are married to a non-Jew, you may feel it's not enough, right? But it's a sea change from even when I started as a conservative rabbi, when, you know, in my first shul, and I changed this as soon as I found out about it, if there was mail from the shul, it was addressed only to the Jewish part. Right, and I said, you gotta change it. Oh, they said, oh, no, it's a United Synagogue rule. I said, no, just change it, okay? And I don't see any value to a rule that says you have to be like gratuitously insulted, right? But there's some interesting data. This is not from the 2024 AJC, it's from the 2021 Pew survey, which is also considered, you know, a reliable survey. All right, and actually, I'm gonna say, let's guess some things. Okay, Americans who have one Jewish parent, okay, Americans who have one Jewish parent and they themselves are 49 years or older, right? One Jewish parent, 49 and up. What percentage personally identify as Jewish? 37. 37. Anybody else? 42. 42. Anybody else? What? 60. You're all way over. 19%. Okay, remember, one Jewish parent, age 49 or over. Okay, so that's 3 years ago, so now it's age 52 or over. Now, one Jewish parent, age 18 to 49. What percentage identify as Jewish? 55. Anybody else? 17. Actually, Lori's pretty close. It's 49. Okay, so there's a 2.5-fold increase, right, of children of intermarriage who view themselves as Jewish in that period. Now, the percentage of Jews who have two Jewish parents who identify as Jewish, right? And you might say, well, 100%, right? But it's not. I mean, my brother, for example, who's a Unitarian, right? I mean, some days of the week he says, yeah, I'm Jewish, right? Some days he says, nah, I was raised Jewish, but I'm Unitarian, right? So the figure for people with two Jewish parents who identify as Jewish is 94%. Okay, and now, math has never been my strong, right? But, and I'm surprised they didn't do this, 94% is exactly double the percentage of younger people with one Jewish parent, right, who identify as Jewish. Okay, and now this is where the math gets a little tricky, but I would say from this that intermarriage today neither helps Jewish demography nor hurts Jewish demography, right? And how so? Okay, let's imagine a universe of 10 Jews, right? And each of those Jews, I mean, we have 5 Jewish men and 5 Jewish women, right? and they each marry a Jew and have 2 kids, right? So how many Jews in the next generation? 10, right? All right, but 10, all right, we're not doing fractions, yeah, that's your job, I'm a rabbi. Right? 10, right? 5 marriages, 2 kids, 2 times 5 gives you 10, right? Now, imagine a universe of 10 Jews who each marry a non-Jew, right? And they each have 2 kids, but half the kids identify as Jewish. How many Jews? No, 10. 10, because you've got now 10 marriages. 10 marriages, 20 kids, half of whom identify as Jewish, right? So you've got 10 Jews, right? So demographically, it's a wash. I mean, there's a lot of assumptions built into that, right? But in fact, if we could raise the percentage of children of intermarriage who consider themselves Jewish from 50% to 60%, intermarriage would be a net gain, right? Because we have 12 Jews in the next generation instead of 10 if all the Jews married other Jews, right? And so what we once viewed as a threat is not really a threat if, we play our cards right, right? But beyond that, this survival, right? Survival is important, but it's not enough, right? And frankly, right, we at Kehilat Shalom spend so much time focused on our survival, right? That we're a machaneh, right? And we don't have the psychic energy or the human resources or the financial resources to say, like, what's our compelling vision? Right? What's our compelling vision? Why should people be a part of us? Right? Oh, come survive with us. No. Right. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not blaming anybody because I'm surely as much a part of this as anybody else, right? But we're all focused on survival to the exclusion of everything else, right? And to me, that is a reason why maybe we should think creatively and, not have to focus so much just on survival, right? So that we can be an Edah and not just a Machaneh. Shabbat Shalom. Ruchim to you.
Yashikah.
Ruchim to you. Continue with the Kaddish before Musaf and the Musaf service, page 155 or 428, and then we'll go right to Musaf. We'll